This is WJDI-TV. We interrupt our programming. This is an emergency. Stand by for a broadcast of the emergency alert system. An emergency is in progress. Important instructions will follow. This is an emergency action notification. This message is being transmitted at the request of the United States Geological Survey and local law enforcement authorities. All broadcast and cable systems will transmit this emergency action message. This station has interrupted normal programming to participate in the emergency alert system. This is WJDI-TV. We will continue to serve the San Francisco, California area. If you are not in this local area, you should tune to stations providing news and information for your local area. Do not use your telephone. The telephone lines should be kept open for emergency use. The emergency alert system has been activated. The United States Geological Survey advises that an increase in seismic activity has been observed at the Hayward and San Andreas faults. A high-magnitude earthquake will occur within the next 60 minutes. This earthquake is expected to cause extreme damage to property, services and infrastructure. The earthquake is expected to emanate from the Hayward Fault. The earthquake will then join the Calaveras and San Andreas faults. This activity originates from the Pacific and North American tectonic plates. Be prepared to take the proper actions when the earthquake occurs. All citizens are advised to evacuate to a safe place immediately. Stay away from all windows, doors and exterior walls. Seek shelter in any nearest earthquake-proof structure or emergency center. Otherwise, go to any open area, away from large buildings or structures. Avoid lights, utility poles, trees and structures such as overpasses. Any structure within 100 feet of you is a possible hazard in an earthquake. Evacuate your location immediately. Seek shelter immediately. Do not remain in any unprotected building. Move to your local emergency facility now. If you do not have access to an emergency shelter, seek a safe open space immediately. The United States Geological Survey advises that a high-magnitude earthquake will occur within the next 60 minutes. This earthquake is expected to cause catastrophic damage to the following areas: San Francisco, San Mateo, Palo Alto, San Rafael, Oakland, Hayward, Fremont, Daly City, and San Jose areas. Severe damage is highly likely to areas adjacent to the San Andreas Fault from Palm Springs to Point Arena. All citizens are advised to prepare for a major earthquake emergency. Seek shelter immediately. This is KNBS-TV. We interrupt our programming. This is an emergency. Stand by for a broadcast of the emergency alert system. An emergency is in progress. Important instructions will follow. This is KNBS-TV. We will continue to serve the Seattle, Washington area. If you are not in this local area, you should tune to stations providing news and information for your local area. Do not use your telephone. The telephone lines should be kept open for emergency use. The emergency alert system has been activated. The United States Geological Survey advises that an increase in seismic activity has been observed at a number of locations in Washington state. There is a high possibility of multiple volcanic eruptions occurring. These eruptions are expected within the next 2 hours at the following locations: Mount Baker, Glacier Peak, Mount Rainier, Mount St. Helens, Mount Hood, Mount Jefferson, Crater Lake. High volumes of ash and debris are expected to be ejected from these volcanic eruptions, with the possibility of pyroclastic flows. Catastrophic damage is likely within 50 miles of each eruption. All citizens are advised to evacuate to a place of safety immediately. Follow routes indicated by designated officials and law enforcement agencies. Do not remain within a 50-mile radius of the volcanic activity. Prepare now for the primary effects of a volcanic eruption: explosive sound, shockwave, earthquake, ash and debris. A large explosion will occur at the start of the eruption. This will cause a burst of sound damaging to hearing, and may cause disorientation and nausea. The eruption will cause a shock wave at the initial explosive point. Earthquakes will occur before and after the initial eruption event. Ash and volcanic debris will be ejected into the atmosphere. This will return to Earth as heavy volcanic ash. This ash will accumulate and cause structural damage to buildings, leading to collapse. If inhaled, the ash will cause severe breathing difficulties and fatal lung damage. Do not confuse the volcanic ash for snow. Snow may fall later, as a result of a drop in temperature. Seek shelter or evacuate to a safe place immediately. Catastrophic damage is expected. County police have opened extra lanes on freeways and major roads to allow evacuation. Citizens are advised to evacuate to the north of the volcano line. Volcanic eruptions and earthquakes are imminent. Seek shelter or evacuate to a safe place immediately. The United States Geological Survey advises that multiple volcanic eruptions are expected within the next 2 hours. These eruptions may occur at Mount Baker, Glacier Peak, Mount Rainier, Mount St. Helens, Mount Hood, Mount Jefferson, and Crater Lake. Seismic activity will continue and increase. Seek shelter or evacuate to a safe place immediately. This is KSPR TV. We interrupt our programming. This is an emergency. Stand by for a broadcast of the emergency alert system. An emergency is in progress. Important instructions will follow. This is KSPR TV. We will continue to serve the Casper, Wyoming area. If you are not in this local area, you should tune to stations providing news and information for your local area. Do not use your telephone. The telephone lines should be kept open for emergency use. The emergency alert system has been activated. The United States Geological Survey advises that an increase in seismic activity has been observed at Yellowstone National Park. A geothermal eruption has occurred within the park. This eruption has caused significant damage and possible loss of life. The geothermal eruption and increased seismic activity indicates that the Yellowstone caldera will begin venting. This will cause a catastrophic explosive eruption. This eruption is expected at any time within the next 4 hours. Seismic and geothermal activity is continuing and expected to increase in magnitude. All citizens within a 200-mile radius of Yellowstone are advised to evacuate immediately. Do not remain within the area. Prepare for a major volcanic event. Ensure you have supplies of food, water, and breathing equipment where possible. Follow evacuation routes indicated by designated officials and law enforcement agencies. Freeways and major roads will switch to a one-way emergency configuration in some areas. This will allow maximum traffic to flow away from the emergency. If you do not have access to transport, seek a local emergency shelter. The United States Geological Survey advises that an increase in seismic activity has been observed at Yellowstone National Park. An explosive eruption of the Yellowstone caldera is expected within the next 4 hours. This eruption will cause extreme damage to the area within 200 miles of the eruption. Evacuate to a place of safety now. Seismic activity will continue and increase in magnitude, endangering life and property. Do not remain within a 200-mile radius of Yellowstone National Park. Citizens are advised to evacuate north if they are located above a line from Yellowstone National Park to Buffalo. All citizens south of this line are advised to evacuate south immediately. Citizens located to the east of Yellowstone National Park are advised to evacuate immediately. A large ash and debris cloud is expected to travel due east from the eruption. This will cause heavy amounts of ash and volcanic rock to be deposited in its path. This ashfall may cause damage to property and loss of life. Evacuate to a place of safety immediately. Do not remain within a 200-mile radius of Yellowstone National Park.
This is WVET-TV. Stand by for a broadcast of the emergency alert system. A national emergency is in progress. Important instructions will follow. Stand by for a broadcast of the emergency alert system. A national emergency is in progress. Important instructions will follow. This is an emergency warning message. All broadcast and cable systems will transmit this emergency warning message. This station has interrupted normal programming at the request of the White House to participate in the emergency alert system. During this emergency, most stations will remain on the air providing news and information to the public in assigned areas. This is WVET-TV. We will continue to serve the Rochester, New York area. If you are not in this local area, you should tune to stations providing news and information for your local area. Do not use your telephone. The telephone line should be kept open for emergency use. The emergency alert system has been activated. A series of tectonic and volcanic events are currently in progress along the western seaboard of the United States. These events affect areas from the California and Mexico border to the border of Washington state and Canada. A number of catastrophic events of national significance are in progress in the following states and locations: Oregon and Washington state. Mount Rainier, Mount St. Helens and Glacier Peak have erupted. Activity from Mount Rainier is threatening the city of Seattle and surrounding areas. Eruptions are also expected from Mount Hood, Mount Jefferson and Mount Baker. Citizens in these areas are advised to evacuate to a safe place to the east and north of the state immediately. California, a magnitude 9.6 earthquake has been recorded as occurring at the Hayward Fault, and has progressed through the Calaveras and San Andreas Faults. A second earthquake is in progress and multiple aftershocks have been recorded, and are expected to continue for the next several hours. Wyoming, the Yellowstone caldera has begun to vent and a major eruption is in progress. There have been multiple geothermal eruptions, and the caldera is now venting magma and rock into the atmosphere and surrounding areas. A number of vents are expected to open and eruptions are anticipated to continue for the next several weeks. These eruptions will result in high levels of environmental damage, disruption to communications, impacts to buildings, roads and infrastructure. These events may cause possible emergencies in your local area. All citizens of mainland United States are advised to seek shelter immediately and prepare for an environmental emergency. Atmospheric damage and significant change to weather systems are anticipated. Pollution and debris from volcanic activity is likely to cover western and central United States. All air traffic is now suspended and all aircraft will land at the closest airport as soon as possible. All major highways are open to facilitate the movement away from emergency areas. If you do not need to travel, stay in your location. Only travel if you are in immediate danger from the emergency. Electricity and water supplies may be adversely impacted by the current emergency. Citizens should be prepared for significant disruption to these services. Movement of goods via established transport links may not be possible for some time. Citizens should be prepared for shortages of food, medicines and other essential items. The President has authorized the use of emergency powers legislation, and the Federal Emergency Management Authority will be responsible for the national emergency response. Please cooperate with requests for assistance from local authorities. All citizens are advised to gather supplies for at least 14 days and proceed to a place of safety. All citizens in central United States are advised to gather immediate personal belongings, supplies for at least 14 days and to proceed to a place to safety to the west, north or south of the debris cloud. Citizens in these areas are advised to keep monitoring emergency broadcasts for locations and information about the debris cloud and its movement across the country. All citizens in western states are advised to continue monitoring emergency broadcasts and to seek shelter in any unaffected place as soon as possible. Aftershocks and volcanic eruptions are expected to continue for the next 48 hours. Further land subsidence is possible with damage to life and property. Transport and major infrastructure may be heavily impacted. Where possible, stay in your current location with whatever supplies you may have and await assistance. Reports of catastrophic damage to the cities of San Francisco and San Diego have been received. Land subsidence has occurred in several locations along the coast, west of the San Andreas Fault. This land subsidence has caused multiple tsunamis to occur. These tsunamis have recorded with the wave heights between 25 and 60 feet, and are currently moving across the Pacific at a speeds of approximately 500 miles per hour, with a projected trajectory striking the east coast of Japan. The United States government has informed the Japanese government of this event. The U.S. Weather Service advises that clouds of debris from the eruptions of Yellowstone and Washington state volcanoes have entered the upper levels of the atmosphere and are rapidly moving east across the United States. These clouds are causing significant changes to weather patterns, including the formation of storms and tornadoes. Ash and volcanic pumice has been recorded as falling across cities across central United States. When combined with water from storms, this volcanic ash and rock can form a substance similar to cement, which is extremely dangerous. Furthermore, unprotected exposure to the falling debris will result in ash particles gathering in the lungs, causing asphyxiation, and possibly resulting in death. Evacuate to a place of safety immediately. Do not remain within the emergency zones. Follow designated evacuation routes. Obey emergency instructions. Monitor emergency broadcasts for updates. Seek shelter now. A national emergency is in progress. Important instructions will follow. Stand by for a broadcast of the emergency alert system. A national emergency is in progress. A series of volcanic, tectonic and seismic events are in progress across the western coast of the United States. These events have caused catastrophic damage. Secondary events are now in progress in areas across central and eastern United States. A series of earthquakes measuring over magnitude 9.5 have occurred across the state of California. Earthquake activity has originated from the Hayward, Calaveras and San Andreas faults. These earthquakes have caused the collapse of several large skyscrapers in downtown San Francisco. The Golden Gate Bridge is significantly damaged. Other major items of infrastructure have been destroyed or severely impacted. Sections of the west coast have subsided into the sea, causing multiple tsunamis. Aftershocks are in progress and are measuring approximately magnitude 8. Casualty figures are anticipated to be in the region of several 100,000 people. The West Coast tsunami has impacted Hawaii, causing heavy flooding and destroying waterfront property. Volcanoes in the states of Washington and Oregon have erupted and ejected ash and debris into the atmosphere. A number of pyroclastic flows are moving in the direction of Seattle and surrounding areas. Eruptions are anticipated to continue for the next several days. Destruction is total within 50 miles of each volcano. Significant numbers of casualties have been reported. The Yellowstone caldera has exploded, resulting in the creation of multiple ejection vents, causing very large volumes of volcanic ash and debris to enter the upper atmosphere. Ejections remains in progress and ashfall has occurred across the western and central United States. There is total destruction with a 100-mile radius of the Yellowstone caldera. Numbers of casualties are unknown. The combined ash clouds from the Washington state and Yellowstone eruptions have entered the upper atmosphere and moved across the United States, and are now over the eastern seaboard. Significant changes to weather systems are being observed. A large number of storms and tornadoes have been recorded. Ash is falling as snow in the upper eastern states. A polar vortex is causing ash to fall as hail across New York and surrounding states. All citizens are advised to evacuate to a place of safety, or proceed to areas south of the ash cloud immediately. Follow designated escape routes and obey instructions from law enforcement. Ensure you have ample food and other supplies, as these will not be available for some time. Stand by for a message from the President regarding the current emergency.
Stand by for emergency weather advisory. To all citizens who are capable of receiving this broadcast, the American Recovery Corporation advises that an emergency weather event is due to take place in the next 45 minutes. All citizens are advised to seek shelter immediately. You are reminded to report to your designated safety shelter. Failure to report will result in the removal of future access to the shelter. A polar vortex has combined with a storm and tornado front. This weather system is bearing down across the eastern United States and is expected to cause damage to infrastructure, This storm may be lethal to any person exposed to it. Wind speeds of 275 miles per hour are expected. Proceed to your shelter now. Citizens outside of major centers are reminded to continue traveling south following designated routes. Report to authorities immediately upon arrival at a shelter point. Shelter points can be found in southern Texas, Louisiana, and Florida. Citizens are reminded that the former states of Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado, Kansas, Nebraska, and South Dakota are subject to emergency powers legislation. Access to these states is prohibited. Any attempt to travel to these areas will be met with lethal force.